Hello and welcome back to what I think you may consider an intro in two halves. The first half, the much more positive part, is I think we have done some really good transfer business. Let me first of all check that nothing carried over. There are a couple that seem to have Van der Bush back out on loan, and then I let Henningberg go to Copenhagen and Obama to Ipswich, two players that didn't really feature a huge amount and were only backups. They don't have, in Henningberg's case, a huge amount of potential to grow into, and Obama, an older player that was good for a season but has dropped off quite considerably as we'd expected. And then our transfer business. We went and got Manchester City's goalkeeper, Amadou Kouassi, who played a couple of good games against us. He was pretty much the best goalkeeper who was interested in coming. Vitovsky had been good, but again, getting older, and I thought a slightly younger replacement was probably a sensible idea. At 27, he's about the same as Vitovsky, but obviously won't fall off quite as quickly. And that then takes us to what we have done so far in this part, where we've raised a lot of money by selling players. First of all, I'll show you the players I've got on loan. A lot of names you will recognise. Pickles is there, Eze is there, McCartney is there, Keeling is there, Borisov is there, I mentioned him last episode. And then we moved on a whole host of players that weren't quite at the level. Purcell for 11 million, again an older player. Gleicham, I couldn't really turn down 30 million for someone that wasn't really featuring that much. Bogdanovic, the backup left back, went for 35. Steentzig, the backup right back, went for 35. And Maximovic, the backup left winger, whose ability had dropped off quite a bit, or he certainly wasn't growing as quickly as we would have wanted, for 50 million. Raised a lot of funds, and we spent a good chunk of that. First of all, a free signing of Ioannidis List, an experienced player that's come in to be Pinto's backup and has started the season reasonably well. A right back right at the end, Nixon Lastra, who is a real star and has come straight into the first team, didn't start particularly well in his first game. And then some young players, Lee Canham, a 16-year-old striker from Manchester United, Watchhorn, a defensive midfielder and centre-back from Coventry, and Philippe Mera, who has come in as our new left-back cover with a lot of potential from Newcastle. Which leaves us with a team that looks like this. Kouassi in goal, Lastra comes in at right-back, Rich. I've given Dobbs the opportunity to come in ahead of Lahan, given the age and their ability. Sack stays at left-back. I've moved Pinto deeper because of how well Ioannidis List has started, and he now plays alongside Fatawu. Bassani on the right and Int on the left, still with Dutton Black remaining up front. I did try and move Vitovsky on, but didn't have much luck, so he is now our third choice keeper with, I think it's Frankie Amor, now as the backup. Nutting is the right back, and Mera left back, with Hiver and Lahan as our backup defenders. Younger's ability, having dropped off a little bit, moves him to the bench, with Diamande as our holding midfield options. Obviously, Pinto can move forward one. We've still got Rodrigo, Budimir and Rowe on the bench, and everyone else that you saw come in has been loaned out. So that is where we are for our first Champions League game. These two will come in to complete the two sets of 11 that we want to have. Now, the not so good bit is that this has been possibly our worst start to a season for some time, and when you look at it, it won't seem that bad, but we have drawn games at home to Norwich, we dominated at Newcastle and didn't win. We did beat Birmingham, but that's left us with a pretty poor Premier League start. Losing to Ipswich was an absolute disaster, and we start with Queverly Rouen in the Champions League. Our Champions League draw this year sees us go away to Real Madrid and Lille. That's a name that I haven't recognised before. Galatasaray at home, Erzgebirge Aue at home as well, a German side. Bayern Munich at home is tough, but then we finish with Sofia away and Pacos Ferreira away. So a Champions League draw with a couple of big hitters, but one that we should expect to compete reasonably well in, even if we do go with a backup team for a lot of it. But we have to turn this form around if we are going to be competitive. Fourth round of the League Cup against Oxford is an ideal draw, though. So that's our summer transfer window, and I'll be back with an update at the end of January. Hello and welcome back to Season 20, where after a rocky start we have very much turned things around. After defeat to Ipswich, I think you saw that in the last update, we went on a quite remarkable winning run in the Premier League and the League Cup. We did draw 1 each at Real Madrid, conceding a very late equaliser, which was a shame, and then a draw against Erzgebirge Aue in the Champions League as well. Defeat against Manchester United, defeat against Spurs, and a defeat against Man City in the Carabao Cup. We'd already qualified in the Champions League for the top 8 when we lost to Pacos Ferreira, and unfortunately the defeat to Man City wasn't enough to get us to a League Cup final. But other than that, and the defeat to Everton that we've just suffered, things are going really quite well. We made it into the top 8 in the Champions League and are now awaiting, I should be able to show you that, fixtures, no, I want to go to stages, league phase. So there we are, we finished 7th. The defeat to Pacos Ferreira was a little bit disappointing because it could have put us right up at the top, but I did put out a reserve team knowing we had already qualified. Now that allows me to take you to the Premier League table, where we are absolutely flying. We are top, we are 5 points clear, and it would have been more had it not been for that defeat to Everton. Back-to-back Premier League titles definitely looks on the cards. We have, however, been very busy transfer-wise in a way that I didn't really want us to be. We had a deal come in at the beginning of January. Well, first of all, Ep20 we moved on. He was our third choice goalkeeper. But this one here, a deal for 160 million for Dutton Black. He wanted to leave. I didn't really have much choice, so I accepted it. That's the big one. You see a few players have gone out on loan. Wilson was a young right back that we weren't using. Lahan became our 5th choice centre back, so he went. And then some other loanees. But that did give us a bit of spending power in this January window. Dexea was the signing we made to replace Lahan. He is a left-footed centre-back, which gives us a bit more cover there behind Dobbs, and I would imagine Dexea will take Dobbs' place before the end of the season. Dan Keeve is the guy that has come in up front. He is a bit of a star, lots of goals for Portugal, 191 centimetres tall, a proper number 9, and he has made a reasonable start with 4 goals in 5 games and a decent rating. And then Jaden Williams has come in to play back up to him. He hasn't really been involved with the senior team yet, but I've just moved him there because he will be able to compete for that backup spot. The team now looks a lot like this. It's still a bit of a battle between Lastra and Nutting as that right back. I do think we'll make Lastra's signing permanently because he has done well. It's Dobbs currently in that centre back position, but De Kaiser will battle for that. Sack at left back, while Mira has played quite well there as well. Currently Younger and Fatawu, but I've moved Ioannidis List into those deeper positions as well. It's the same 3 behind the new striker Dan Keeve, and again Rodrigo, Budimir and Rowe have done reasonably well. I do think eventually we'll want Williams to take Rowe's place, but Rowe is still offering quite a lot as that backup centre-back. Things are going very well, and I will be back with hopefully a couple of live games at the end of this season where we are competing for trophies. Hello, I bring you back in with half an hour to go at Wembley in an FA Cup final, which we currently lead 2-1. And that will only help our cause. We've got quite a lot on the line over these last couple of weeks of the season, starting with this FA Cup final. Newcastle are currently 4th in the Premier League. I won't say anything more about where we are at the moment, but this would be the first of what could be a few possible trophies based on how things are going. We are playing this game, as you can see, with Mogg in goal. Kwasi picked up an injury about 2 weeks ago. He was out for 3 weeks to a month. He is on the bench, and we are desperate to get him back, but at the moment we are holding strong with the youngster Mogg in goal. And I'm kind of really being punished for the fact that I not only let Ep20 go, but loaned out, I've forgotten the name of our most competent young backup goalkeeper. But at the moment, it's not hurting us too badly. I think there's a few more changes to be made to try and get us across the line here. I don't really want to take off these guys that are having a good game, but we don't Oh, okay. I don't know what happened there. Let's try that again. Let's try and bring Rowe on. In fact, it didn't let me make any of those changes I just tried. Diomande for some legs into midfield and Mera for some legs into the back line. But we're getting closer to a trophy, another trophy in this series. 87th minute now. One more goal would do it, would win us an FA Cup, but that's over the bar for Mera. I think now is probably the time where we just reduce ourselves back into our shell a little bit. We would definitely be the favourites to win if Newcastle did get an equaliser, given the extra man. I should probably be trying to move things down the right, given that they are short of a left winger. Can we wrap this up? More than happy with us taking our time over it, and we'll move to defensive as well after this set piece. Beat up those seconds. Oh, I think we hit the post. But I think that is enough. It is enough. We have won another another FA Cup trophy, which is hopefully just the start. I'll let you see the trophy lift as we pick up our second or maybe third FA Cup of the save. It might be our third. And I'll be back with a little bit more gameplay to finish this, what could be a really special season. FA Cup winners again. And for those of you that want to see how we got to that place to be 2-1 up without a huge amount of time to go in the FA Cup final, here it is. It was Dobbs from a Rodrigo corner early on before Newcastle's corner was intercepted by Ince. A long ball over the top to Bassani, who took a good touch. Balled it back inside for Younger to score a deflected goal. And at 2-0 up, we felt very much in control, although, as you would have known from the footage I've just shown you, Newcastle did pull one back. We were right on top of them looking for a third, but a clearance from Cook to Romero, and we've very much been exposed to on the break. Ross cut it back, and Bomson scored, but it wasn't enough, and that was our FA Cup title. And less than a week later, we are here in for what a lot of teams is their penultimate Premier League game of the season over the course of this weekend. For us, it's, well, we've still got this plus 2 more. We've only completed 35 games. But Manchester City's total collapse, having lost and then drawn the games that they have played, has meant that we have gone into this game 1 point clear, and with Manchester City only due to play one more game. So 1 more win out of our final 3, 2 of them being home games, would be enough. And actually, it appears that at 2-0 up against Fulham, we might be lifting another trophy shortly. While the game's going on, let me show you what the table looks like. Oh, it does pause in the background. So Man City won 75, having played 37 games. We are about to move to 79 after 36. And therefore win a back-to-back, our second consecutive Premier League title. This does also allow us to put out weakened teams in the final 2 games, with another big game that I will introduce you to in a minute on the horizon as well. I think it is time to start to try and rest some legs. We'll do Sack. We will do, I think, probably some of these attacking players, given they are the most tired. Let's get Diomande on. Let's get Budimir on. And given his importance to what's to come, let's also swap those number 9s. And again, as we did in the cup final, I think it's time, given our lead, to slowly wrap things up. Move into our 4-3-3 on cautious. There isn't any reason why we need to move any further back, really, shape-wise, given how dominant we've been. But given I'm cautious that we might start to feel the pressure of Fulham coming forward, I am tempted to sit us a bit more defensively. Rich has done well there to win the ball back and find Rodrigo. I think Rowe is offside, which is a shame because he's taken that well, but I think that will be called back. Let's see, there have been a couple of close shaves like that in previous games. Now, as I thought, goal disallowed. I think that was a fairly comfortable decision. We'll see from the replay. It does go a little bit too early. So we'll move to defensive and give a little bit of praise in the hope that it helps take us across the line. As long as we're careful out of the back here, which we have been. Rowe has been really good, given that we've needed him for longer periods of this season than I would have hoped. That looks like it may have been offside, although Rodrigo's header has hit the post anyway. And now we're short of a right back, but I think we may have got back in shape. We have. And we'll move to very defensive as we hope to wrap up this league title. And if they don't score now, Fulham, I think that's probably going to be that. I'm hoping we get a trophy lift, given that this is mathematically a title won. And we do, a second consecutive Premier League title, domestic double winners. I will show you that we fell to Manchester City over 2 legs in the League Cup semi-final, which was a shame because it means we've gone right to the depth in all of the competitions and not won them all. But I certainly am not going to complain about a Premier League and Premier League and FA Cup win. Pinto lifts us our second consecutive Premier League trophy. And here are those 2 goals. I wasn't able to show you them live, but it was Ince cutting the ball back to Pinto that put us 1-0 up really early on. That was only 2 minutes in to that game against Fulham. And it was Pinto again who scored this second that we then defended for a further 80 minutes. Rich carrying the ball out, going back to Fatawu. Ioneda's list found Pinto, who spread it wide to the fullback Lastra. And it was Lastra's low cross turned in by Pinto that gave us the 2-0 win we needed. And so here we are, the Champions League final with the Premier League and FA Cup titles for the season already in our pockets. We line up here in a Champions League final to not only attempt to win our first ever Champions League with Bristol Rovers in this 20th season, but also to complete an incredible treble of the 3 big trophies that were available to us. We started the better team, and Dan Keever scored after in the 7th minute to put us 1-0 up. A brilliant start, and what a signing he's been. When we lost Dutton Black at Christmas, I thought realistically we were probably going to need another season or 2 to start to rebuild a team with Dan Keever as the number 9, but scoring the first goal in the Champions League final, you can't really get much better close to his first half of season than that. I noticed here that Fernandes has picked up an injury, and we are without Younger, who's been a real star through a lot of the last few years of this save. I know this list has come in, which leaves us a little bit short in terms of defensive tackle in the midfield, but he is more than capable on the ball. And he can win the ball back as well. It is something that I noticed. Actually, he was a lot better than Pinto in terms of his defensive work, and so it made sense when we needed someone to drop in. It was him. And Kouassi is also back, which is important because that's a very, very good save from him to tip that onto the post to keep it at 1-0. I gave Kouassi the last 25 minutes of the final game of the season that we lost at Arsenal 3-1. I thought just to try and get some minutes in him before this game given that he'd been out for the month or so before. Dankeev looked like he was coming back for an offside position there, but Pinto has got through, and Pinto had a chance there if he could have gone with his left foot to the far post. But we do have a corner, and it's a corner that we are going to see. It's Pinto again with the delivery, but Man City clear. Now, we have started the better team, but a second goal here, given that Man City get to have a shot on target, and we've had 5, is going to be really important. We've obviously been here before. We lost to Atletico Madrid before in a Champions League final. I think Man City are a better team, but we have been better than them, obviously beating them to the Premier League title this season. Hopefully that means they're slightly out of form given the poor run they had at the end of the season as they slipped up in that title race. But they are growing into this game. Marino with the ball down the right. We get someone across, we have, and that's really unfortunate. To get the block in and it bounced back to Marino, who's just smashed into the top corner. Man City have scored from their first chance, and it's taken them 35 minutes, but that's the kind of thing that happens in a Champions League final, and the kind of thing that happens in our save, in that whenever we seem to have got to a big game, we've blown it. But 1-0 up, and we're playing, 1-1, having been 1-0 up, and we're playing reasonably well. It's a real shame that we don't have Younger in midfield, because I need his list isn't having the best of games in there. I might have a decision to make in the second half if he doesn't improve. Rio Ngamoa there is one of the few real non-generated players that is still playing at this point in the save. We are 20 years in, it's 2046. That is a good cross, and that is another massive chance. I can't believe that Dankeev didn't go to the near post with that header. If he did, it would have been 2-1, but we are definitely the better team, and we need to try and make this count. Bassan is looking tired, but again, given our domination, I'm reluctant to make any changes here. I think if we can get back ahead, it's probably going to be enough given how on top we are, but it's just getting that second goal, and it was a problem that we had against Atletico Madrid. We just didn't make our dominance count, and I'm hoping that Dankeev having a good game there will take the next chance that he gets. We've given the ball away though. I'm hoping this is just the start of the half highlight and nothing more. Hopefully Bassani can win the ball. I don't really want him in the one-on-one, and he's conceded a foul there. Kouassi though caught the ball, and I can't believe how, well, just to have him back, to have Kouassi back in this Champions League final, given that we hadn't had him. Now that looks tight. I think Dankeev's offside there. He's through and he's scored, but as he managed to stay online. Man City are appealing, and it's them that are motioning, which means, yeah, I think that was going to be disallowed, and it is disallowed. But again, positive signs. We just need to take one of these opportunities. How tight was this? Does he get back on? No, he is offside by a foot or so. Right, given Ioannidis' list is having a poor game, I'm going to make an early change here. And I'm going to bring on Diamande. And I think we're also going to go with the fresh legs on the right, given how influential Rodrigo has been and the impact he has had on games. I'm going to make 2 early changes here. Man City are going back into the game. It looks like they put the ball in the back of our net there from the sped up highlights you can see on screen, but for whatever reason it wasn't counted. Now let's see what we can do. Fatawu in midfield to Ince. Sak puts the ball at risk and loses it, but Fatawu wins it back. He goes long to Ince, who isn't able to get the ball under control, and now Man City have a chance on the break. That is one hell of a ball first time over the top, and that should have been 2-1 Man City. Another brilliant save from Kouassi to keep the scores level. It's difficult to know what to do here because it is the counter-attack that they are having the most threat from. When we're in shape, they're not posing us too many issues, so hopefully that's a good challenge by Lastra, which allows Rodrigo to come forward. What can we do here? Rodrigo with fresh legs down the right has come back inside to Lastra. I don't know what happened to Pinto there in the middle, but Dankeev's offside again, I think. It's a really good header and a good cross, but I think we're going to have a second Danke. You've got to hold out here. Oh, it's been given. He looked comfortably offside to me. It's Pinto going down in the middle. Rodrigo, oh, it's tight. It's incredibly tight. But he's onside and we're 2-1 up. And I think now, given that Man City are causing us issues mainly on the counter-attack, I'm going to take a bit of a gamble and just sit back a little bit. Move into the 4-3-3 that we've used to see out games. 25 minutes to go. I mean, a third goal here, and I think that's the Champions League final wrapped up. What can Pinto do? Is he going to cross it or is he going to shoot? He shoots, and this is a good save from the Man City goalkeeper. Interestingly, we did take Kouassi from them, so not a huge surprise that he's having a really good game. There's two choices to make here. One is that we really try and go for the kill, but given that Man City's threat does seem to be on the break, I think sitting deep is probably the move. We seem to be having a reasonably good game all around here, but I'm going to make the two changes we've made a lot, which is Mera on at left back and Budimir onto the left wing. Gives us one change left. When Kouassi did pick up his injury, no, not Kouassi, I think it was Danke. When Danke got injured with a month or so to go, it was in extra time of the Champions League. I think it was the quarter-final. And we've run out of substitutes, but we are slowly creeping towards full time here. I'm going to start to really park things up. Danke's having a good game, so I'm not going to bring him off. What I think I will do is go with a more natural midfielder rather than Pinto in Watchhorn, and we'll make Watchhorn the more defensive player and move Diomande forward, and we'll also move to defensive, and we're very nearly there. We'll move to very defensive. We've got 2 minutes left to win the treble in the Champions League final, and we've got the ball. If we can see out these minutes, we have done it. We have won the treble. 20 years into the save, Bristol Rovers are Champions League winners, treble winners, and we have got across the line in this Champions League final. Come on! It's been an amazing save to get 20 years in. Pinto is going to lift the trophy, and that, for this save, is going to be it. 20 years is one of the longest saves I've done with the Rovers. To get as far as we did, I'm really pleased to have managed to win the treble. The aim was this season to win the Champions League and wrap things up there, but to have won the treble in the final season is the best possible way to have done it. And with that then, let's wrap things up. I will take you to the squad that we used in this 20th season. Let's show you the selection info. And we'll sort it. In fact, let me show you the team first of all that finished it. Pedro Pinto obviously became a real star. Charlie Ince was a player for us for a long time. When did Charlie Ince first come in? 33, 34, and was an important part of what we did from there. Obviously Bassani has been with us a long time as well on that right wing. Lost his place at parts but won it back. 34, 35 he came in as well. Rich, and it ended up being Dobbs that partnered him as we saw things across the line in the Champions League final. Fatawu was with us for a while after we picked him up. I don't know, only 3 seasons after we picked him up from Brighton. And I'll just show you some of the other names here as well. Obviously one of the big stars of the save, and I will just show you him before we go, was Caelan Beardmore, who is retiring at the end of this season. Can we bring him in as staff? I certainly will try and do that as my final act, given that he was a player for us from the very first season. He came in through the youth intake, made his debut after a few loans in 30-31, and was with us all the way through as well. And this season, the goals ended up coming from Danke getting 18 after only signing halfway through the season. Rowe and Pinto 20 each. On the assist front, it was Bassani. Rodrigo did really well, given he played 34 games off the bench. And Danke ended up being the star that came in and took us to that Champions League final. After Dutton Black moved on, really pleased to have finished this save. I'm recording this in July, so we haven't got a huge amount of time to go before the next game comes out, but we did it. Champions League winners, treble winners with Bristol Rovers, and that is going to be that. There will probably be new videos coming out on the channel moving forwards. I've got an FC26 video to show you of how I managed to improve the Rovers players throughout the season on there. But for that series, that is it. Thank you very much. If you have enjoyed what you've seen, please leave a like and subscribe for what we do moving forward. I know some of you enjoyed the series I had on the channel before, where we tried to take Rovers as far as we could, only using locally born, Bristol-born players, and that is something I will do if people want to see it. But that is it. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.